Okay, so this is my, do you want to come up too?
Yeah.
You do a lot of work. Yeah. So this is Dan, who, Dan was helping me out with this. He did all the stuff that looks good. So we started out, yeah, come on.
This is off. This is like off. This is like the off screen.
We started out with a website that already existed that we worked on at the last hackathon, BaltimoreVacants.org, and we decided to add BNI statistic comparison between neighborhoods to it. So the way that we did this is first you search for some house here. You find the neighborhood that you're looking at. For those that haven't seen this site before, the markers represent clusters of vacant homes. The red marker is a lot of vacant homes per block. The yellow is a little less, and the green's just a couple. Those are statistical terms, right?
Smidge.
Yeah, there's a smidge. It's just not showing right now. Anyway, so what you can do from here is choose one of the vacant houses. All the houses on the right side are vacant. Choose one of the vacants, and you get the BNI data points on it.
For the community.
What's that?
For the community, right?
For the community, yes. For the community that this neighborhood and home is in. Now, all this existed before. What we added to it was being able to compare this neighborhood to another one. So I'm looking at Greenmount West here. This is one of the neighborhoods in the city that's kind of up and coming. It's got a lot of vacants in it. How many vacants does it have? Vacant and abandoned, 4.1%. She seems kind of low. Yeah, when you drive through it, you'll know. So I'm going to compare this to Hamden, which is a really nice neighborhood. And there are hardly any vacants. So once I type in an address in Hamden, then it takes the vacant house that I was first looking at data and compares it to the new address that I typed in side by side. Green represents a higher value on either side. Blue is an unchanged value. And of course, orange is just the lower of the two values. Anything else we should add to that?
The green is, as Shay said, just noting which one's higher, so it's not a positive or negative type thing. It's just a real quick showing you which one is higher out of the two.
Yeah. There's no connotation about whether higher gun ownership, homicide rate, higher homicide rate is still green, right? But that's not really. Anyway, quick and dirty, and it's done. So that's it. Any questions?
Can you talk about the reason for the comparison, or what the original use case is?
I think that this fits the original use case in terms of, and I think I hadn't originally thought of this idea of putting in a particular house, but in the use case I said that people might want to compare to like where they currently live to where their mom lives, and they're going to know both of those addresses, and they might not necessarily know which CSA, community statistical area, those addresses are in. So
Yeah.
this is really helpful in that, and that's kind of beyond what I had thought of. But the visuals and kind of lining up that information for two community statistical areas is exactly what the challenge was. So that's great. Really excited about it.
And now that we have the foundation for at least this visualization of comparing to, we could add other routes to get there. You could click on a map, two outlines in a map, and compare it that way, something like that. Because it'd be really easy to take that and plug in picking locations on the map. This is all open source, so if if anybody wants to help with this.
Is it hosted? Does it have a link to it?
This version is only local right now. I'll upload it later, but it's at baltimorebacons.org. I'll probably put it up tomorrow, this version, after tweaking a little bit. Yeah, and it's on GitHub. It's called Baltimore Bacons. Thanks.
Thank you for doing
Thanks,
that.
Shay.
Thank you. Guys, just for posterity, if you want to try and use the mic, it will help future generations hear what you have to say.
Brian and Adnan, do you guys want to go next since you're also working on this challenge? Awesome. Come on down. Maybe we can get me one of those like Bob Barker microphones.
Oh, yeah. Maybe also introduce yourselves.
Yes.
I'm like Shay, everyone else doesn't need an introduction.
He was wearing a name tag.
I think they all fell off.
Mine did. Shay's is still on.
Probably start from scratch, huh?
Mhm.
Mm.
That seems like.
Hmm.
Is the left side cut off or?
Yeah, a little bit.
The resolution.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a 4:3 projector or
You
something.
can squish it a little bit. Yeah, we'll squish it a little bit. Does that fit?
So I'm Brian,
And I'm Amin.
and we started with something that they already done a little bit of work on, and do you want to explain what we started with a little bit? I guess.
Sure, yeah. So I saw the BNIA challenge and was just, honestly, it started out as an excuse to play with D3 mapping and consume some data, like the nerd that I am. So I just wanted to see if I could map their data onto these sort of region maps like the one right there. So sort of came in with that functionality right there in that map working, but not much of the rest of it. And we were sort of playing with, it wasn't strictly exactly what the challenge was looking for, like the sort of side-by-side comparison of neighborhoods. We were sort of playing with, I guess, I don't know, maybe a question of like data design, like sort of designing a way to explore a large and complex data set that would sort of allow lay persons, non-data intensive people to sort of learn about Baltimore through data. So so we started out, so we kind of liked the idea of these sort of small multiples as a way of sort of looking at lots of different indicators as sort of an overview of Baltimore across different variables.
I'm getting
So-
seasick, Brian.
Yeah, so there's, as you can see, there are a lot of indicators in their data set, and you can sort of pick the ones within the various categories you want, and see the sort of different maps show up. And then a couple of the things we worked on were one, just making this interface, somewhat accessible and visually sort of appealing, but then also and sort of visually useful, since this is a visualization of data. But then also, we worked also on getting it to be shareable too. So this is sort of like an all client side app. So you're clicking on these things and it's interactive. You can pull up different maps. But we were thinking, you're exploring, you're finding different things. You see like, oh, let me put these two maps side by side. Oh, that's an interesting thing. I want to show it to somebody. So we wanted to make sure that you could grab the link and share it easily. There's no share button yet, but it's a couple steps away.
Right. Now there's a unique link for any set of maps that you can bring up. So if you bring up a couple that are related, or that you want to show, to anyone else, you can give them a specific link to that.
Yeah.
Which was
Move them around.
yeah, the maps can be rearranged a little bit if you want to get things closer for comparison's sake. And then we were showing a little bit of the hover functionality.
Oh yeah.
You can sort of point to a specific neighborhood and see the value of that, of that neighborhood across all the different indicators. So, percent of population 19 to 24 years old in 2010 is 10.4, and in the same year, in a different age bracket in the same place, that's 13.2. So you can sort of, see one neighborhood across many indicators in a very small amount of space, which is kind of nice. You can turn these things on and off, hide and show, display any number of them, reorder them, and yeah, we have a lot of feature functionality that we want to add into. We have the search up there, which would help you filter down the list a little bit more. If you're interested in only poverty, it would be a little bit quicker to find that. I think one of the big things that we wanted to play with more was really just choosing maybe about two of the indicators, bring them up side by side, and letting you do a little bit more analysis. And that would probably be around visualizing the same data that's on the map in a couple different ways. One of which would be sort of a histogram, so you can see like where particular neighborhoods would lie, as far as distribution goes, which might be sort of hard to discern from the map. And then another one would be, since you have two indicators up, you can sort of see how they relate to each other by doing some sort of scatter plot with them. Are these two indicators that you chose correlated or not, or how do they relate to each other essentially? But we see this as a starting point. There's definitely a lot more we can do with it.
For me, I'm a teacher, and one of the first things that kind of made me interested in this stuff and going this direction with it was that I first got these maps working, and I just happened to pick these two maps of racial demographics in Baltimore. And the story that these two pictures tell is one that, I mean, if you've been in Baltimore really any length of time, you've probably encountered it, right? But I mean, if you look at these two maps, they're like perfect complements of each other. And that, I mean, I see that and I think, whoa, I need to show the the 14 to 18-year-olds that are going to the very wealthy private school that I'm going to, this map. But then that makes me think, well, what other combinations of maps could one construct and put together that would tell an interesting story? So the idea that there's like a tool that people can sort of explore data and then eventually kind of come up with little subsets of this huge data set that are interesting to them. Sort of the, I don't know, motivating vision there. So.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think so.
Yeah, that aspect, how it doesn't pigeonhole you into any particular format, it makes it super flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's something we strove for that, but we also struggle with it a little bit, just because there's so many directions we could take it. I think we definitely want to do that sort of two-up comparison with deeper, analytics about how the two relate, but there's many other ways to go about it too. I think some of them could be along the lines of your project a little bit, where it's more about two different neighborhoods and how they would interact. Yeah.
I was wondering when you were talking about how once you have a bunch of indicators up there, drawing comparisons between a few different neighborhoods is going to be tough. And I wonder if currently you're showing the value of a particular neighborhood with a particular indicator with this black box on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe every time you choose a neighborhood, it could put the value of that neighborhood in a different color box that's also colored in the map. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean
How to
that's.
explain it. So if you have right now you have something that's colored. If you select it right now, it's outlined in red. I wonder if you select it and it turns say green, and that box turns green, and then if you select another one and it turns blue,
Yeah, that was one of the next steps too. I think is more about like selecting individual neighborhoods, and once we have that, you know, I think that's an obvious sort of next step. Once you can like pick and sort of almost like lock a neighborhood, and you do, you know, multiple neighborhoods and compare
Right.
them. Yeah, I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, it's really impressive how much you guys have been able to get done in a short period of time.
To be fair, a lot of this, I mean, this building block was here coming in, so.
Yeah.
Right, it was also nice if you just started a day early.
Any other questions or ideas about what else we could do with it?
How are you gonna deploy it?
Well, it's on GitHub pages right now, so it's sort of deployed.
Okay.
But it's also, since it's all client side, it's actually really easy to deploy because, you know, it's an HTML file with some JavaScript and CSS includes, and then it's good to go. So you could just copy and paste the folder. So, and it is on GitHub. So.
Mm-hmm.
A question about time. You know, can you? A lot of this information is available going back in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, wouldn't it be nice if? But wouldn't it be nice if you could like see how much or how little this has changed over decades?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect it hasn't changed much.
Yeah, we have. I think I don't know what the range of years is here. I think
right
it's
now
at least
it's
3.
2010 to 2012.
Yeah.
But we were talking to somebody else from BNIA who was saying that I think the CSA, the sort of region definitions were actually different before the 2010 census
I
or
think
something.
only 2 of them, I believe, really changed.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the case.
But yeah, I mean, we looked at a lot of the, you know, all the different indicators, and they're grouped by year, and when you sort of see a bunch of them from different years, you get that, you know, sense that you really want to compare year over year too, or have another way of, you know, relating those things a little bit better.
That URL is hackable, by the way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I would love to see, you know, like 10 years worth of this in this form. That's one place where the sort of small multiples approach is fun. Is cool.
That's
You can like see, you know, things moving over time in space. That's kind of nice. But
Cool.
All right. Thanks.
Nice job.
Okay, I think we should keep with the posted challenges theme and bring up, Chris, are you gonna present? Sure. And Dave, your response to the State of Maryland Veterans Challenge.
Guys, come a little closer if you want.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm Chris with Red Owl Analytics. My colleague Det was also on our team, but he had to leave a little early. Also with Red Owl Analytics. You guys
You
wanna
met me
introduce yourself?
earlier, Amber Ivy, Statesat Maryland.
Dave Grimm. And we, Det and I didn't really have a project coming in. We just wanted to come work on a challenge, and we wanted to work specifically on a challenge that addressed the vet challenges. Our company, Red Owl, was formed by 4 former vets. We have a lot of vets in the company, so we really try to give back to that community as much as possible, especially here in Baltimore. That being said, we didn't really have a challenge coming in, but we met Amber, and she had a challenge for us, so we decided to try to tackle that. And Dave joined us to do some of the web development side of things. Do you want to talk a little bit about the data source?
Yes.
That's kind of what got this started.
So the cool thing is, I feel for us today, we literally took data from an Excel spreadsheet, integrated it into the open data portal, and actually use the API to create an end product. So we're really excited about seeing every single step today, and he can go over a little bit more of the details. But we put in different codes we have something here in Maryland called one-stop shops. So veterans or people who are unemployed can go to these shops and actually get more information on how to secure jobs. Each of these shops offer different services and different opportunities. So the goal was to take these items and map them on a map. And then I'll let you go.
Yeah, so the main entry point to this, I mean, all of this data is kind of available in some way or another through the website, but we wanted to try to give a more accessible way for vets to sort of go online and say, hey, I'm interested in finding out about jobs in the area, or I'm interested in taking classes in the area that sort of cater to former vets. How can I find out more information? So basically what we wanted to do was take all of this this nice data that Amber's collected and has posted on StateStat, and sort of give a visual, like a GUI interface for finding more information about places nearby. So the original idea was that sort of like the minimum viable product here was you could go in here and put in your address, ask for the nearest location, and it's not hooked up yet, but it would ideally would jump you into your location and sort of show you a route to how far away you are from the closest ones, and then either on hover or on a pop out or something, give you more information about the nearest one-stop shop. So there's a lot of data that we haven't really exposed yet through the UI, but we want to be able to tell them things about like when are these places open, link out to more information about that particular one-stop shop and things like that. Coming into this, one of the big things I want to do is get a better understanding of the Google Maps API. So, like one of the former speakers, I just wanted to learn more about it. So that was really cool that we got to, for me, that we got to do that. And this is all hosted through Red Owl right now on AWS on this super memorable website. Tell all your friends about that. Tweet it, whatever.
A lot of numbers.
Yeah, it's a little rawer than some of the other projects, but we kind of went from the ground up, and it was fun. The code's here on Red Owl Hack for Change Baltimore. So if you want to go check it out and run it locally, it's all client side too, so not much there. You want to say anything, Dave?
Just one thing. We sat around and did a little mock-up before we did the website. So that this was
our vision is there.
Once we had this,
cool. Any questions about what we were trying to go at here, or like?
So this is more than just for vets, right? I mean, this could be.
Yes, but these centers specifically are vet focused. There's more centers than this in the state of Maryland. Okay. And the good thing about, let me have a rec over this data, is when this data is updated, it will update into the mapping. So that's awesome. I can go back in and add it from our end, or anyone can go in and suggest additions and things like that.
Yeah, I think getting this data set in was kind of like a cool twist on the challenges. Like, I thought coming in we would just hit some APIs, get some data, and try to make some cool visualizations. Here we're actually giving back to the data sources themselves, so trying to give a new way, like a completely new data source for new visualizations. So it's kind of cool.
I don't see that data set from data. Is it public?
I think I thought
It's definitely public because I don't have any private access to it. I just went to this.
Maybe the search just takes a while.
Maybe.
It might not have been indexed yet for the search. I don't know. But you should be able to hit this URL and definitely get it right now.
That's awesome. Great work on that.
Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it. Cool. Any other questions? Great. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Matt? Do you want to go next, Matt? Sure. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Do you need constant electricity?
yes. This thing, that thing.
speaking of raw, so hi, I'm Matt Pfeiffer. I'm a PhD student at Johns Hopkins, and I've never been to one of these things before, so I just wanted to take a look at a data set and see what I could do. Ryan was helping me out, but I don't want to blame him for the state of unfinished of the project. But basically the goal was on the Maryland open data site, there was just some information about the fiscal year expenditures from 2008 to 2013 to vendors, and it listed the specific vendor names and their zip codes. So I went through and just tried to plot a map of the total expenditure by Maryland, by zip code, just wherever that may be. And so, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. This may just be like an accounting glitch, but you can see that Maryland kind of spreads its money far and wide. These might be like corporations where their national headquarters are or whatever. Luckily, it does seem to be concentrated in Maryland, which makes sense. And I'm still working on the visualizations, and this is just for 2013, but this was able to get accomplished so far today. So that's pretty much it.
What software is it?
This is QGIS. I don't know very much about it.
This is just open source GIS software. It's sort of the leading one for open source.
I kind of got bested by Tile Mill. I don't know. If anyone knows anything about like conditional styling in these CSS files or whatever, find me. Otherwise, it's just going to be on here for a while. So.
Very cool.
This is really, really interesting. I'm not familiar with this data set at all. Besides the vendor name and the zip code, what else did they tell you about the vendor? Did they give you any sort of unique
Yeah, there's an
vendor
identifier.
code for it?
Yeah, so at least in theory, if we wanted to like go further with this, you could kind of mouse over and show who the like top 10 vendors are that are getting money in. It also shows which kind of like department they're getting money from. So I don't know any of the names of the departments off the top of my head, but
So you could filter this by department and see if some departments are keeping their money within Maryland, for example, or some
Yeah.
are starting to further.
definitely.
That's great.
So,
Interesting.
anyways, that was it. Thanks.
What's your PhD in?
Biomedical engineering. So.
Awesome. Ooh. I didn't break anything for once. Okay, so Lewis, are you gonna present for community exchange? Chris and Mark, if you want to come up, don't be shy. You're gonna use this?
Yeah, because my computer won't connect.
Oh, right. We did establish that.
Yeah. So hopefully this will work on Windows 7. So really rough, like proof of concept basically of what we could do, given enough time. If you want to explain the project, since
Sure. For those of you that were able to come a little bit earlier, the idea behind this project was to kind of create some tools that could help build community in Baltimore, and especially build community around acts of service. And so there's a lot of people in Baltimore that have a lot of creative ideas, and a lot of creative, and also information and data about what can be done in their neighborhoods. And so we tried to create a database that could capture all of this, and a database that could later be hacked to create amazing new things and amazing new technologies. And so this is a little bit of an example of, I'll let you guys describe it a little bit more about what kind of this could look like.
yeah, this is all front end. We tried to get the server running with Node and mean stack. We're trying to get all cool and stuff, and it happens. This is all just really. It's pulling the data from a Sakai data set, which I've created for this purpose. So what basically is the idea is if you want to submit an app, you go here. You're supposed to be able to give it your location, and just kind of fills that out for you. You're supposed to be able to take a picture. Oh, well, I guess there's no pictures here. There we go. Blah blah. Give me the project project that you guys want to do?
Clean the park.
Give me an address in Baltimore. Anybody?
100 North Baltimore Street.
Northwest?
East-west.
Oh, it's
You could do
okay.
North Patterson Park Avenue. There's actually a park there.
Yeah.
Okay, is it
Is that the address of
maybe?
Patterson Park?
It's
Got a corner.
200.
No.
No,
That'll be
21212.
21202 is.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alright, and timestamp will be done on that part. Okay. So submit. Yay, it worked. I haven't really figured out that part yet. View all projects. And then if it'll refresh at some point. There we go. So, you know, it has a little clean the park thing right there. So what this needs is a live internet loving care. It needs to be actually built on a server and not be using Socrata, because Socrata is great, but it's not really great for, you know, being used as a database. It's, you know, better for just, you know, doing stuff with small amounts of data. But yeah, I think this is something that could actually be done. Maybe, you know, I was talking to you about maybe Code for America picking it up. I think it's a doable app.
So would this, you envision this being something that anybody can go to and submit a project?
Yeah. That's the idea.
Yeah, and
Well, in Baltimore,
we were-
it would like check your location, make sure you're, you know.
Yeah, so we were thinking like repository, put stuff in, take stuff out. So like make a community repository that's very flexible, non-defined, and not to define the method of input or output. And so this is really like a way to kind of showcase the database that's not running, because none of us really know how to do servers, it turns out. So to get it from this to the database, we needed a server. So we're working on that. But so another use case would be you're going along and you see the sturdy park and you want to report to sturdy park. You say send to, I don't know, like you set up the phone number, and then it will put the data in. You don't see the map and you may never see that post again. But if enough people are using this hashtag like dirty parks, then maybe somebody comes along and wants to clean up parks, then they can kind of filter and they can build an app on the other side that would allow them to use that data that many various unaffiliated parties have started collecting for the community.
How could this interact with the 311 app?
Well, that was the idea. It was the first time you guys explained it to me, I was like, oh, so we're doing a 311 Explorer. And you know, I think the idea is that this is for not necessarily like for parks, but just for, you know, community things in general that maybe the government doesn't have control over, right? So.
Let's say, for instance, like you see just an empty lot. It's fine, it's taken care of, but you have an idea that a lot of neighbors can come together and build a garden there. So you might take a picture of the lot and post something and see if neighbors are interested and want to create something good.
Maybe if at the other end you could have something that would help encourage like a benevolent flash mob or something. It's like
Yeah.
you could like find, okay, it's tomorrow. I
like
most
that.
of them are
That's
benevolent.
amazing.
But it's like you get like I've got like I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow after lunch. I'm gonna see what my friends are up to. Oh, maybe we could all like go and attack this park and clean it up in one afternoon if there's enough of us. This is a fantasy, but but maybe it would make it really easy to do that potentially.
Very cool.
Nice little proof of concept. That's all it is.
Looks amazing. Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have, so is that the Baltimore Community Exchange is what you're,
That was like the name we came up with. But I mean, yeah, it's not. We don't like have the domain name or anything like that.
it's better than their domain name. Who's got the idea of it? 54, yeah.
Great.
That's right, it was,
screen is like really appropriate. So I didn't forget anybody, right? Thanks to everyone for coming. Thanks to University of Baltimore Merrick School of Business for having us. Thanks to Socrata for sponsoring and like pitching in on lots of teams today. To State Stat for showing up and helping everybody find data sets. And thanks to all you guys for your really hard work. We would like to adjourn to the Brewer's Art, which is Charles and like J Street. So everyone knows where Brewer's Art is, right? So thanks very much. And if you wanna, if you're interested in promoting the project that you did and you would like to like write a little blog post or do a little video demo of it, and we would love to have it on hackbaltimore.org to help you get the word out. And if you need to find further assistance with your project, we want to encourage the future development of it. So just hit me up.
Hackbaltimore.org.
At hackbaltimore.org. Sharon at hackbaltimore.org. Or info@hackbaltimore.org. It's all the same people. Thanks very much, guys. Give yourselves a big round of applause.
Andrew's got first round.
You're done.